Morning everybody. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes as always until everyone has a chance to log on. Just in case any of you missed the last webinar, we had one on Guatemala 2 weeks ago and unfortunately the normal email reminder didn't go out to tell people, so we didn't have as many people as we probably would normally have. So if you're interested in listening to the Guatemala one, I would definitely recommend you do so, and it's on our YouTube channel. So if you just Google Contours Travel YouTube, you should be able to find it there, as well as all the others, any other ones you might have missed. So today we're talking about Belize, which is Guatemala's neighbour and located on the Caribbean in Central America. Hey. Sorry. Technical difficulties. Oh yeah, there we go. For those of you who don't know us or who haven't listened to one of the webinars before, just a quick introduction. Contours Travel specialises and in fact deals only with Latin America, so Mexico, Central America, South America and Antarctica, and have done for more than 40 years now. We have just put out a brand new brochure and have a brand new website, so I definitely recommend you take a look at those. They've got some really nice new itinerary ideas and great product information as well, so have a look if you've got the chance. So Belize. Capital city of Belize is one of those weird ones that nobody's ever heard of, which is Belmopan. A little bit like Brasilia or Canberra, it was designated the capital rather than happening organically. The official language of Belize is actually English, so it's the only English-speaking country in Central America, although Spanish is still very widely spoken. And although the official language is English, you'll find that 99% of people speak a type of Creole, which is incredibly difficult to understand, but definitely based in English, so it's quite an interesting, interesting language to listen to. A very small population of Belize, just 360,000 people. And again, a bit like Australia, based mainly in a few cities with the interior of the country being largely unpopulated. Australians get a tourist visa on arrival, so no entry requirements to satisfy, and Belize is of course most famous for its beaches, the barrier reef, snorkeling, diving and all things associated with water. As you can see here, Belize is bordered by Guatemala in the west and also Mexico up to the north there. You can't really tell, but it has a Guatemalan border down here as well. And then you've got the mainland Belize and then the Keys running down the coast here, which is also where the barrier reef is. Slightly better map. So you've got the capital there, Belmopan, although the vast majority of flights come into and out of Belize City here, and many people think that's the capital for that very reason. Coming in from Guatemala, you come across here. So you've got Tikal and Petén Lake, which if any of you were tuned in last week, you'll remember from the webinar. So the drive from this area takes you up to Melcol de Mencos and then across into San Ignacio, which we'll be talking a little bit about today. The other places that we'll be mentioning in the webinar are Orange Wharf, which is up here in the north, and then of course the Keys. So you've got Ambergris Key here, Ambergris Key here, sorry, and Key Cork a little bit further south. So Wendigo, the dry season right throughout Central America really is our summer months, so November through to April. The wet season is okay, I guess, especially if you're visiting the inland areas of San Ignacio and Orange Walk, but if you're looking to go out to the Keys, then definitely avoid the wet months, particularly August, September, which is the hurricane season of the Caribbean and not a very pleasant time to be on the beach. Flights in and out of Belize City, you've got direct flights from Los Angeles and also from other cities in the USA. As I said, you've also got overland connections from Guatemala and Mexico. Unfortunately, Belize does not have a lot of direct flights to other Central American capitals, though there is a teeny tiny little national airline called Maya Air, and they do run flights to Flores occasionally in Guatemala and also Cancun. So Orange Walk is the district up in the north of Belize, and probably not very many people know that this is actually one of the best wildlife spotting areas in Central America. The countryside around here is incredibly heavily forested. Over 40% of Belize is protected, and a lot of the protected area is up in this northern region. So you've got some really impressive jungle lodges. You can actually see jaguar in this part of Belize, as well as a lot of other wildlife. So getting to and from, you've got, you can just have a direct overland transfer from Belize City, just a couple of hours, and that's probably the easiest way of getting there, I would say. Orange Walk town is the, oh sorry, I've just seen the question. Can everyone see the slides, or someone just say yes if you can?
Maybe we had technical problems.
One moment, guys. I'm just going to pause for a second.
Can you please raise your hand if you can see the screen, please? Anybody?
That's better. Oh no, so I started, no one could see anything. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, I'll just quickly go back so you can have a quick look at what we're talking about. I won't rejig everything. So I guess the map's the most important thing here. We've got the Belize mainland bordered by Mexico and Guatemala. The capital, Belmopan, which I was mentioning. San Ignacio here on the border next to Tikal, so that's the overland transfer I was talking about. And then Orange Walk, which we're currently talking about now, just up in the north there. And the Keys, of course, off the coast. So apologies for that, everybody. Thanks for letting us know. And let's just carry on. So Orange Walk. As you can see, incredibly densely forested, really fantastic wildlife opportunities. This is probably, I think, one of the highlights of Belize. The country is really well known for the barrier reef, obviously, and for the beach and snorkeling and so on. But it also has some really incredibly rich wildlife in the interior. I guess for passengers who are looking to do a trip to Belize, this would probably be, along with San Ignacio, you'd want to do the Keys, Orange Walk and San Ignacio as sort of a best of, if you like. So the town of Orange Walk is nothing particularly special, and we certainly wouldn't normally put our clients in town itself. We use one of two lodges which are located out in the jungle and are close to these ruins of Lamanai. So this is probably one of the more famous of Belizean ruins. They're not anywhere near as well known as something like Tikal or the ruins in Mexico, but they are nevertheless quite impressive. And as you can see by the little tiny person on the pyramid there, they're enormous. So Lamanai is probably one of the ruins clients should see if they're interested in Mayan history. And you can see those from staying at either of these two lodges. So both of these are located out in the jungle. You've got Lamanai, which is more of a rustic, probably tourist superior class accommodation. And then you've got Chanchich, which is probably a first or maybe first superior, depending on the room type you go for. Both lodges work in very similar ways to the Amazon lodges. So you pay an upfront price and you get all your meals included. You get a couple of excursions per day. You can choose from like jungle hikes, from canoeing, bird watching, night hikes. So if you understand the way the Amazon works, this works in a very similar way. They also include excursions off-site to places like Lamanai and the ruins around there. Probably the first most visited district actually is the Cayo district, and this is the area that borders Guatemala. So San Ignacio is definitely the principal town there, and that's a really good base for exploring the ruins and the caves and lakes and everything around this area. It's a very rugged kind of mountainous zone, and it's also got a huge amount of limestone caves and hidden rivers, and if you know like the cenote idea in Mexico, there's some similar kind of landscapes and things to be found in this area. Also, the most impressive and certainly the most famous Mayan ruins are in this region. It is just across the border from Tikal, so it's a similar kind of landscape to what you get over there. Caracol is the largest of these sites, and then you've also got the Xunatunich, which is a bit of a mouthful, and also Cajalpech. So if you've got people who are interested in Mayan history, definitely a few nights in San Ignacio is well worthwhile. Probably you can get away with sending them to 2 out of the 3 ruins. They probably don't need to do all 3. But definitely these 2, Caracol and Shunatunich, would be the ones to go for. San Ignacio, as I said, is the base point to send people out on excursions. So the town itself is fairly nondescript, pretty touristy, so there's lots of the hotels in town, lots of little tour agencies and restaurants and so on. But again, we usually choose to send people a little bit out of town and have them stay at one of the lodges nearby. Excuse me. So a bit of the landscape around, as I said, a lot of rivers, really clear waters, a lot of waterfalls, and then, as I said as well, these limestone caves. So there's heaps of opportunities for like tubing, kayaking, caving, swimming, lots of adventure activities like horse riding, hiking, trekking. So it's a really great area for people who are very active. But then there's also tours as well that are a bit more low-key, and if you've got older clients who perhaps aren't into tubing and so on, there's definitely things that we can do to cater for them as well. Bird watching is a really popular activity right throughout Central America because of the huge variety of species found. In Belize especially, because of the different zones, so you've got like the mountain region around San Ignacio and then the more lowland region around Orange Walk. They've got a massive variety of species. You've got the woodpecker down here, obviously the toucan, which is one of the most famous American birds, I guess. So it's a real haven for bird watchers. These are a couple of the lodges that I was saying we would normally send people to. Most are about 15, 20 minutes away from San Ignacio town itself. And these offer a really awesome kind of nature experience. You're not too far from town, so you can get a taxi into, to go to the bank or whatever if you need to do so. But each of these properties is located on a fairly extensive site, so you've got walking trails, bird watching zones, activities you can do right from the front door. And then they'll also offer excursions out to, for example, the ruins or some of the caves and tubing rivers and so on as well. I would normally not pre-book excursions for people in this area. We would normally maybe do 3 or 4 nights at one of these lodges, give them a list of possible excursions they might like to do, and then they can discuss with the hotel staff and the guides locally, what's going to be best as per the weather that day, what kind of wildlife's been spotted in the region, and organise their itinerary that way. Black Rock is probably Black Rock and Table Rock probably first class, I'd say, Tourist Superior first. They're quite rustic, as you can see, so it's difficult to put a real star rating on them. And Mystic River a little bit higher again. So definitely not deluxe properties, but the experience is amazing. And as I said, they're really in nature itself, so you can have a great nature experience without leaving your hotel zone. The Keys, of course, are what Belize is really famous for. Belize has the second longest barrier reef in the world after ours. And Ambergris is probably the more upmarket of the 2 keys that we would send people to. You've also got Key Corker, which is a bit further south. Ambergris is either a water taxi or a very short flight from Belize City. So if you've got people staying in Orange Walk or San Ignacio, you can transfer them by land to Belize City, and we can either stick them on a water taxi or in one of these little teeny tiny aircraft. The aircraft make dozens and dozens of flights per day. It's only a 15 or 20 minute flight on a 4 or 5 seater aircraft. So depending on how people feel about being in a tiny airplane, it might be better to be in a water taxi. That would definitely be my choice. Once you're on the island, so this is Key Corker, sorry. Key Corker is a little bit more, probably has a huge market for the backpackers. And Ambergris is a little bit more upmarket with some really spectacular accommodation options. But Key Corker is coming up a little bit, and there are some good choices there these days. Shark Ray Alley is definitely the most famous marine site around the Keys. So this is a marine nature reserve that's protected, where you can snorkel with, as you can see, turtles, stingrays or manta rays, sorry. And nurse sharks as well, and the visibility and the wildlife viewing opportunities here are excellent. It's just a half-day trip and you don't need any experience to do it, so it's a really amazing wildlife viewing opportunities for clients. You've also got the Blue Hole, which is probably the most famous image that scene of Belize. Really, yeah, astonishing from the air, and a world-class diving zone as well. So obviously people do need to have some experience if they're going to dive, particularly the blue hole itself. Belize is a really popular place for people to get their PADI certificate or to go and do a beginner's course in some of the less advanced areas around the reef as well. As you can see here, Belize is an absolute paradise for divers. Much like the Barrier Reef, that's probably one of their main sources of tourism. Huge variety of fish and coral and sharks, turtles. Yeah, it's quite amazing. If you've got divers, definitely send them this way because it's quite inexpensive as well compared to somewhere like Australia. Accommodation. So as I said, Key Corker does have a few nice options nowadays. Iguana Reef is probably one of the better options. Quite simple, but yeah, a good kind of tourist superior first class maybe accommodation. Ambergris is the one that we would normally use, I think, over Key Corker, and that Victoria House is probably one of my favourites. And then you've also got Ramon's Village, and Ines, who works here, actually had her honeymoon at Ramon's, so and she really loved it there as well. Again, we would normally maybe just book the Shark Alley snorkeling excursion for people and then leave them to their own devices for the rest of the time, because it's really the kind of destination where you just want to chill out, read a book, sit in a hammock, and if there are things you want to organise, you can certainly do so locally through the hotels. Ramon's Village in particular has a really excellent dive shop and dive master on site, so they can help you prepare a dive itinerary. So a suggested itinerary, this is actually the end of our Mundo Maya itinerary, which is on the website and in the brochure, and it's just a tailored itinerary designed to show people how you can combine Mexico, Guatemala and Belize. So this is an idea to come in through the north and start off with Orange Walk, so up in the jungle there, and then finishing across in Ambergris Key. That's the new brochure. For those of you who haven't seen it, feel free to give us a call and order one, or you can also order them through Toll, I think. This is the Mundo Maya itinerary that I was talking about. So starting in Mexico City, flying to Villahermosa for Palenque ruins, and then overland through San Cristobal, Lake Atitlan and Antigua, which again we spoke about the week before last in the Guatemala webinar, and then up to Tikal and coming across the border here into San Ignacio. So this is a really great multi-country itinerary. It's only 23 days and you can actually cover quite a lot of ground in that time without really rushing through. It's also a really nice itinerary because we do visit some kind of lesser known ruins. So Yaxchilan and Bonampak in Mexico, and then obviously the Belizean ruins, which a lot of people wouldn't even have heard of. So why book with us? Well, I guess basically because this is what we've been doing for 40 years. We don't look at anywhere else in the world, so don't ask me about Northern America or Europe or anything, but we definitely know everything there is to know about Central and South America, Mexico, Cuba and the Caribbean. If you haven't spoken to us before, please give us a call if you've got any quotes, and we're happy to put something together for you and show you what we can do. And the question for your chance to come on our next FAMIL. I just came back from our one to Chile and it was amazing. And hopefully the next one we're going to try and sneak across to the Galapagos, but we'll see how we go. So what is the official language of Belize? That should be a fairly easy one for you, and otherwise Google can always help. Thanks for attending. Let us know if you've got any questions. And if not, I will see you all next time. And if you do come up with anything, please just send an email through and we're happy to help you out. So answers to the questions, email through to contours@contourstravel.com.au, and we'll add your name to the list for the next FAMIL. Thanks again, guys. Bye.